With the 2024 presidential election occurring in less than 6 months, candidates will have to decide between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. The election is likely to be extremely close and competitive, and several areas of the country and several states will receive significantly more attention than others. Right now, in the American election system, we have something known as the Electoral College, which effectively gives a certain amount of votes to each state that is based off of the state's population in the Electoral College, and whoever wins that individual state gains all of that state's electoral votes, with the exception of the states of Nebraska and Maine, which divide their votes based off of congressional districts. So this is going to be the 2024 election map, in my opinion, which is that there are going to be 226 electoral votes that are going to be guaranteed in the Democratic electoral column, and 219 electoral votes that are going to be guaranteed for the Republicans. I do not believe the Democrats have a serious chance of winning states like Texas, Florida, or Ohio, and I don't think Republicans have any chance of winning states like Virginia, New Jersey, Minnesota, New Mexico, or even New York for that matter. So anyway, let's dive into what I expect to be the most highly competitive areas of the 2024 presidential election, which are areas within several states. And these are the areas which I believe the two candidates, President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump, should prioritize the most. We're starting with the state of North Carolina, which is arguably going to be the least competitive of the 7 swing states that I identified. North Carolina has had a history of going Republican, albeit very narrowly, for the past 10 years, although it has had a tendency to vote for Democrats at the statewide level, such as for offices such as Attorney General and Governor. The one area of North Carolina that I think is going to be the key to Joe Biden or Donald Trump winning the state is the northeastern portion of North Carolina. This consists of both the Research Triangle as well as the more significantly working class and poorer regions of the outer and inner banks of North Carolina. Joe Biden outperformed Hillary Clinton in North Carolina in 2020 because he largely outperformed Hillary Clinton among urban voters in Raleigh and the Research Triangle, as well as the suburbs of Raleigh. However, the reason why he didn't flip the state was because he vastly underperformed Hillary Clinton in the working class parts of the inner and outer banks. This area is largely consisted of African Americans as well as a few white working class. African American voters and the white working class have started to warm towards Donald Trump and the Republican Party, despite the fact that African Americans still remain a heavily Democratic voting bloc. In the 2022 midterm elections, specifically the Senate elections, Republicans were able to win the Senate seat largely because northeastern North Carolina had a massive swing towards them, and Republican Ted Budd vastly outperformed Donald Trump in the area. If this trend continues in 2024 among the white working class as well as black voters of the inner and outer banks of northeastern North Carolina, it is very possible that Donald Trump can actually expand on his 2020 majority and offset certain gains that Democrats make in the Raleigh area as well as Charlotte. So, therefore, this area of North Carolina, northeastern North Carolina, is going to be extremely important for both parties if they want to hold on to or flip North Carolina in 2024. Next up, we have the state of Georgia. This one should be a no-brainer, which is the Atlanta suburbs. The Atlanta suburbs have long been a Republican stronghold. However, starting in 2008, there started to be cracks in these areas. And then in 2020, we saw these cracks fully materialize with Donald Trump vastly underperforming past Republicans in the Atlanta suburbs. We saw this continue in 2022, where Republican Senate candidate Herschel Walker lost the state of Georgia largely because of massive bleeding in the Atlanta suburbs. But on the other hand, every other Republican who ran for statewide office in Georgia, such as Governor Brian Kemp, or Lieutenant Governor candidate Burt Jones was able to win their election largely because they did not face the same amount of bleeding in the Atlanta suburbs that Herschel Walker did. Therefore, the Republican or Democrat vote total in the Atlanta suburbs is what will decide the 2024 election in Georgia. If Joe Biden can energize suburban voters as well as black voters in the city of Atlanta, he has a very good chance of keeping the state. However, if he fails to energize either group, he is likely going to lose the state. Next up, we have the state of Arizona. This is another no-brainer, which is Maricopa County, which includes the city of Phoenix. Just like suburban Atlanta, Maricopa and Phoenix was a past Republican stronghold. The Republicans largely didn't have much difficulty winning, which led to Republicans largely easily winning the state of Arizona. However, this changed in 2016 with Hillary Clinton actually outperforming Obama in Maricopa County and Phoenix. This led to a narrowing of Trump's margin in the state compared to Romney in 2012. And then we saw this shift continue in 2020, where Joe Biden was able to win the state of Arizona largely because of his ability to flip Maricopa County, and ultimately the state went into the Democratic column. Maricopa County also has shifted further to the left in the 2022 midterm elections, with its Democratic shift resulting in Democrats winning the elections for governor as well as for Senate. If Trump can stop the bleeding in Maricopa County and actually outperform his 2020 margins there, he has a good shot of flipping the state. However, if Joe Biden continues the trend of Maricopa County shifting leftwards, he is likely going to retain the state in his column. Now we have the state of Nevada. Just like Georgia and Arizona, this Sunbelt state is a no-brainer with regards to the most important area, which is the Las Vegas area, specifically the county, Clark County. Clark County, it consists of 3/4 of the state of Nevada's population, and it ultimately decides how the elections are going. More likely than not, Democrats are going to win Clark County. However, their margin of victory is what's going to be important. If Democrats can win Clark County in a landslide, they're going to win the state of Nevada. However, if Republicans can come close to flipping it or make key gains among Hispanic voters in Clark County, they can win the state of Nevada. In 2020 and 2022, Nevada actually shifted to the right, unlike Georgia and Arizona, largely because Clark County shifted to the right. However, the shift wasn't enough to flip the state of Nevada, largely because it was offset by white voters in Reno and Washoe County shifting to the left. However, if Trump can make key gains among Hispanic voters in Clark County, there is a very good chance that he'll flip the state of Nevada, and he would likely need to narrow Clark down to 5 points or 4 points, just like Joe Lombardo did in the 2022 governor's election. Now we've got the state of Wisconsin. Now, Wisconsin actually has many key areas that can decide the 2024 election. However, in my opinion, the most important area are the WOW counties. You may make a case that the driftless areas may be more important for Republicans. However, this is largely the case for Republicans other than Donald Trump, because Donald Trump has a unique ability to bring out the voters in the driftless area, as well as rural Wisconsin, to show up to the polls and vote. In 2022, Republicans had a struggle with this, with Ron Johnson and Tim Michels being unable to bring out the voters in the driftless area. And this largely led to them not being able to win by enough in the case of Ron Johnson, or losing the state in the case of Tim Michels. However, for Donald Trump, he doesn't really have much of a problem with regards to energizing the voters in the driftless area, so the most important region for him is actually the WOW counties. These are the areas that surround the city of Milwaukee. They are the Milwaukee suburbs. This includes Washington County, Waukesha County, and Ozaukee County. These 3 counties largely shifted to the left in the 2020 presidential election, and this led to Donald Trump being unable to retain the state, and Joe Biden narrowly flipping the state in his column. However, in the 2022 midterm elections, Ron Johnson was largely able to keep onto the Senate seat because despite having lackluster results in the driftless area, he was able to compensate for this by outperforming Trump in the WOW counties. If Trump can bring the WOW counties back and outperform his 2020 margin, he is likely going to flip the state of Wisconsin. However, if the bleeding in the WOW counties continues, it's unlikely that he will flip the state. Next up, we have the state of Michigan. Michigan's key area in the 2024 election is definitely going to be the Detroit area. This consists of the city of Detroit, as well as its surrounding suburbs, and the city of Dearborn. Detroit and Dearborn both have a very large Arab population, specifically Muslim American population, that has largely disliked Joe Biden's stance towards the Israel-Palestine war, and this led to a rather large number of uncommitted protest votes coming out against Joe Biden in the primary of Michigan. Arab voters in the Dearborn and Detroit areas have largely indicated that they are not big fans of Joe Biden and his policies, and if they choose to protest against Biden and not show up to the polls, and if Trump ends up outperforming his 2020 margins in the Detroit suburbs, then Trump should have a shot at flipping the state. However, if Biden can stop the bleeding in the Detroit and Dearborn areas, he can likely retain the state in his column. Keep in mind, Michigan was a state that Joe Biden won by 3 points in 2020, so unlike the states of Georgia, Arizona, and Wisconsin, where he has very little room for error, he actually has some room for error in the state of Michigan. And if he can merely keep the Democratic base in line, which consists of the Arab voters in Dearborn and Detroit, he should be able to retain the state, even if he somewhat underperforms in the Detroit suburbs. Next up, we have the state of Pennsylvania. This was an extremely close state in the 2020 election, and like the state of Wisconsin as well as Michigan, there are somewhat varying accounts on what the most important region in the state is, but I would argue that the most important region is northwestern Pennsylvania. Northwestern Pennsylvania is a very working class area of the state. It consists of Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, and plenty of other areas of the state. The northeastern counties. In fact, Joe Biden is from these counties. These counties have a very large Irish Catholic population, which largely gave Joe Biden the state of Pennsylvania in 2020. And Hillary Clinton largely underperformed in this area relative to Barack Obama in 2016. So that led to her not being able to win the state of Pennsylvania. However, Biden outperformed Hillary Clinton in the state of Pennsylvania, largely because he had better margins in the northeastern part of the state. In fact, the northeastern part of the state is largely white working class. This is largely a base that used to be strongly Democrat. However, as a result of the Trump presidency and Trump's whole new movement, the white working class has become increasingly more and more Republican. However, that being said, Trump's inclusion of the white working class towards the Republican Party has been offset with many suburban voters being disenchanted with the GOP. But besides the point, the white working class voters of Pennsylvania, especially northeastern Pennsylvania, are going to be key if Joe Biden or Donald Trump want to win the state. And in fact, northeastern Pennsylvania is part of the reason why John Fetterman and Josh Shapiro were able to win in 2022. They both vastly outperformed Biden and especially Hillary Clinton in northeastern Pennsylvania, and this largely led to their victories. If Republicans, especially Donald Trump in 2024, manage to outperform their 2020 margins and past margins in northeastern Pennsylvania, and can bring Biden's own home field to their advantage, they could very well flip the state. So there we go. Those are the key swing states or swing areas for the 2024 presidential election. If these areas swing one way or another, they very well could determine how the 2024 election goes. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to like this video down below and subscribe to the channel.